I am so tired of coming on this podcast every single week and telling you to stop playing T.Y. Hilton. Like, just stop it.
Mikey needs help.
Mikey needs help.
I was like, if you don't have Jeff Wilson in here, and if you don't run it on first down, I'm gonna strangle you through that TV.
You should know better than everyone else. That fool tears you up when you plays you.
Yeah, but he
Don't you want him on your team?
I have him at number 25.
Thank you. Fine. Todd's the reasonable one on this show.
I take issue with everything he said there.
Well,
I really do.
DeAndre Swift. He's gonna break them tackles, son.
That's bold. That's bold. That's putting your nuts on the table right there.
Hey, there's the first time for everything.
Waxing poetic over here with Todd Diamond.
Dude's old.
So what? He's not as old as Brady, and you're jerking him off before the show starts.
I have Sutton in my top 10. I have him at number 9. Yes.
You know what? I'm just canceling the league. I can't do this with you guys.
2 weeks in. Is it time to panic yet? We'll talk about it here on the MHA podcast. Week 2 recap. Guys, Mikey Renaud, Todd Diamond, Eric Lansing here to talk about what took place in week 2. A lot to get to. How are we feeling on this Tuesday evening? Mikey, you must be feeling pretty good.
Oh yeah, I'm undefeated. I'm not in panic mode like a couple of the teams in our league. So, as Todd likes to say, I'm fantastic.
Todd, are you feeling fantastic?
You know, hey, I'm 1-1, so I'm not. It's only week 2. I'm not pushing the panic button. That's it's only week 2. You can't push the panic button. You start doing that, then you start trading, for Sammy Watkins and other players, and that doesn't work for you. So I've learned not to panic yet.
All right, not trading for Sammy Watkins. All right, I'm also 1-1 and very lucky to be 1-1 considering how I won last week and barely lost this week, but still lost to the 2-0 CUP squad. But I've scored the least amount of points in our league, so there's got to be some trepidation with how things are going. But things could change in 1 week, so let's fingers crossed for that. I didn't really have a talking point going into this. I kind of looked at, and Mike and I kind of talked about this last night, where wide receivers, at least early round wide receivers, are really kind of leading the way. We had that discussion in the preseason about wide receivers get hurt less, can put up some big numbers, running backs, committees, all that fun stuff. And I looked over the top 10 running backs and the top 10 wide receivers in the first 2 weeks. And it just kind of did an average of, how many points they have scored in the first 2 weeks, kind of the average. And so wide receivers are averaging 41 points in terms of those 2 week additions. So week 1 plus week 2, 41 points, the top 10 guys. And for wide receivers, it's 34 points. So those wide receivers, and obviously we've seen some amazing wide receiver outputs from this first week, and we'll talk about it as we go through. But maybe grabbing those wide receivers early has made a difference. Although you look at that running back waiver wire, and it's pretty putrid out there.
I said that, and I say that every single year when we do the running back preview show podcast in the summertime. Yeah, that waiver wire is gross. So I stand by that I'm right. I'm right on that one. It's gross. It's gross. Like, even after week 2, it's still gross.
Come on, Todd. The audience wants to hear it. You know what you want to say. Running backs or what?
Running backs are not a dime a dozen.
There you go.
Yeah.
And there's been some bad running back play so far this season. We'll talk about that as well. Okay. Let's get into some news here.
Well, this reporter was possibly a little hasty earlier. Would like to reaffirm his allegiance to this country and its human president. May not be perfect, but it's still the best government we have. For now.
Some of us saw that Buccaneers wide receiver Mike Evans will not play next week. He was suspended due to a fight during the Saints game, which can only, help things out with my Tom Brady pick. Great. Speaking of that, how about Cole Beasley, everyone? Going to be signing with Tampa Bay. All right. That'll solve all my problems. Yay, Cole Beasley.
Well,
Hopefully they're not
gotta
traveling to Canada anytime soon.
you got to just hope. You got to just hope that Godwin and Julio come back next week, and at least you can salvage.
You hope, but why make the signing if you assume that your top two guys are coming back, or actually two of the top guys are coming back?
I think it's just more of an insurance policy. That's all it is. But if at least one of them comes back, I'm hoping Julio, please, could come back. That'll at least it won't be as bad. I mean, yes, Mike Evans. You want Mike Evans in that offense. I get that, but you to some degree with injuries, or in this case, a UFC fight, got to take what you can get. So you got to just hope either one of those guys comes back or both of them. If both of them come back, I think your level of God damn it would just be wouldn't be as high.
I gotta love this cruel twist of fate where in this year's fantasy football world, Eric's hopes rely on Julio Jones being healthy. This
come on.
Could be Jared Goff this week. Jeez. This is painful. It's painful. Continuing on with the news. Trey Lance suffered a broken ankle. Will miss the rest of the season. Jimmy Garoppolo will take over, everyone. Are we excited about Jimmy Garoppolo? Should I go out and get him instead of Jared Goff?
I mean, Jimmy G just won't either. You can't stay injured enough, or you can't get rid of him. He just keeps coming back like locusts. You just can't get rid of him. So yeah, might as well at this point.
Ooh, first locust on the MHA podcast.
Yeah.
I'm impressed.
Back like locusts. We do a
I don't
Bible
know if
study now.
I don't know if you want to get Jimmy G though.
No.
Yeah.
You know who they got in week 3?
Who they got? We can
Denver.
Yeah.
Pass. Cardinals running back James Conner injured during their matchup with the Raiders. It was an ankle injury. Kind of considered day to day. Keep an eye on that as we get closer. Todd's boy Jerry Jeudy hurt his shoulder during the Texans game. Didn't return. That's considered day to day. Dalton Schultz, a guy that in the very weak tight end spectrum, suffered a right knee injury. It's questionable for next week. So that's what I got for the news. Anything I missed? Any big things, or those are the ones I kind of noticed that stood out? All right.
Yeah.
Sounds good. I'm on it today. Awesome. Here's some interesting fantasy football numbers. Just some things that stood out to me, and I'm gonna go through them. If you want to talk about them, just yell at me, and I'll let you talk. But just some fun numbers to go through. Justin Fields and that Chicago Bear offense. You guys want to guess how many passes they've thrown in 2 games?
15.
It's very, very low, if anything. They have thrown 28 passes and they've completed 15 in 2 games.
Wow.
The hell?
Eat your heart out, Darnell Mooney.
Oh, yeah, no kidding. Cole Kmet has yet to catch a pass.
Yeah,
For those who have
just
Cole
speaking of Mooney, yeah, when I was watching something else, I was watching one of the fantasy football shows. They were roasting him to the ends of the earth. Like, yeah, so it's pretty bad. Yeah, just because
why is it his fault? Justin Fields ain't throwing the ball, and maybe it's the coaching. But I've also I got to see some of Justin Fields, and was it Sunday night? And he's looking to run before he's looking to pass.
Yeah, they were just like, well, Mooney was coming into the season, maybe had some high hopes and everything like that. And yes, I mean, it's not his fault. Somebody has to throw him the football, and Justin Fields, like you said, is just tending to run instead of pass the ball to Mooney. So that's hurting his draft. Rephrase that. It's hurting his startability. There we go. Until Justin Fields figures it out.
How dare you badmouth Justin Fields in Todd's presence? Okay.
Todd, should we have Todd say he was wrong about wanting Justin Fields as the Denver Broncos quarterback?
You can say.
Can you say that now, Todd?
Well, I mean, first of all,
guess that's a no. Goodness gracious! All right, 15 completed passes in 2 games.
Because first of all, if he was just in Denver, he'd have better weapons around him, probably a better offensive line. than he has in Chicago right now. So
I don't
gotta be
know.
something.
I haven't seen anything from Justin Fields that makes me think he's a great quarterback, even despite the incompetence from whoever's running and calling plays over there.
Look, if he had Vic Fangio, he would have been fine.
Yeah, exactly.
No, that
Continuing
doesn't help my
on,
argument.
that's enough Justin Fields talk. Some more stats. Ezekiel Elliott, 4 targets, 2 receptions, -7 yards. I know Elliott hasn't been spectacular this year. Obviously, the whole Cowboys offense hasn't been, but I just thought that was interesting. He had 2 catches for -7 yards for a guy who's throughout the years have had some decent 40 reception, 50 reception seasons. Not good for him. Here's another one that's not catching too many passes. Kyle Pitts, 4 fantasy points in 2 weeks, 10 targets, 4 receptions, 38 yards, 0 touchdowns. Yuck. Kyle Pitts. Oof. Derrick Henry averaging just 3.1 yards per carry. How about Tua's 6 touchdowns? Matches Dan Marino's record. Amon-Ra St. Brown has at least 8 catches in 8 straight games. That's production. How about Kenny Golladay? 3 targets all season, 2 receptions, 22 yards. Terrible. And he's making bank right now. Last thing, and I know everybody's seen this, Joe Burrow has been sacked 13 times in 2 games. They brought in 3 guys and spent a ton of money to bring them in, and they are not protecting Joe Burrow. I'm sure it's not all of the line's fault. Joe Burrow tends to hold on to the ball a little bit. I haven't seen a lot of his games, so I can't honestly say that, just what I've read. But, yeah, just some numbers that stood out to me. Most of those aren't good numbers. Although, Amon-Ra St. Brown, I told you I liked him. He has shown it so far. Okay, let's get into some MHA trivia.
Time to play the game. Time to play the game.
Pretty simple this week. No cheating. But I'm just going to ask you guys a question. Whoever gets to 5 first wins. And then we can continue on. So, of course, we'll always let Todd go first. Because we know why. All right, Todd, we'll start with you. I'm just going to ask you guys, who leads the NFL in passing touchdowns? So I have a list of 6, 7, 8. Whoever gets to 5 first wins. Todd, you get to go first and jump on that board first.
Josh Allen.
Josh Allen? That is correct. He is one of the leaders. He is tied for first with 7 touchdowns. Todd picks up a point. Mikey, over to you. Tua is also correct. Well done, Miguel. He is one of the guys that is tied for first with 7 touchdowns. Of course, he had 6 this past weekend. I'm sure we'll talk about him as we go along. We are tied 1-1. Back to you, Todd Diamond.
Jared Goff.
Jared Goff. Very good. He is one of the leaders here on this list. He is tied for second with 6 touchdowns. He's been pretty incredible so far this season. Todd retakes the lead. It's now 2-1. Mikey, who do you got on the docket here?
I will go with Showtime, Patrick Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes. That's Mikey's guy right there. And he would be right. He is one of the ones tied for first. 7 TDs for the Kansas City Chief quarterback. We're tied at 2-2. Boy, you guys are flying through this one. I should have came up with something harder. Back to you, Todd. 2-2.
I'll go with Lamar Jackson.
Lamar Jackson. He runs a lot of touchdowns too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you for responding. I appreciate that. But he is correct. He's one of the guys that is tied for second with 6 touchdowns. I was worried. I wasn't trying to trip you up or anything. He's one of those dudes that can run with the ball, and he's obviously did really well this past weekend. 3-2. Back to Mikey.
We'll go with Justin Herbert.
Justin Herbert. He's Mr. Charger, who is also tied for second with 6 touchdowns. That puts it at 3-3. I'm going to have to add some more quarterbacks. You guys are killing it right now. All right. Back to you, Todd.
Jalen Hurts.
I'm sorry, that is incorrect, Todd. Jalen Hurts is not one of the answers. In fact, he only has one passing touchdown all season. Just remember, folks, Jalen Hurts had 0 in week 1 and 1 in week 2. Back to you, Miguel.
I'm gonna go with Carson Wentz.
And that's the one I wasn't sure if you guys were going to get. He's tied for first. Mikey.
When I was looking for like busts of the week and everything, I was looking at people's benches, and I saw him. I saw he had 63 points, and I was like, "What the?"
Exactly right. That's what made me decide this one. I heard it on a broadcast. I was like, "Who leads the NFL in passing touchdowns? Carson Wentz? Are you sure?" And there he is, Carson Wentz. So go figure that one. Well done, Miguel. You're up 4-2. Back to you, Todd.
Let's go with. We just talked about him at the beginning, but Joe Flacco.
Hey, Joe Flacco is correct. He is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And he's got 5 touchdown passes on the season. So right now, Mikey is up 4-3. So that exhausted my list. So I'm just going to bring up the list here, and we'll kind of go from there. So Mikey, if you can name, there's 2 guys with 4 passing touchdowns. If you can name one of them, then I will give you the win. If not, I'll give Todd a chance to tie things up.
Let's see, who haven't we named that's a kind of a big name?
He's flipping the pen. He's uncertain. He's
I can
worried.
hear my pen clicking.
He's clicking.
Clicking.
I'll go with Matthew Stafford.
Matthew Stafford for the win. Did he have 4 touchdowns on the
Well, I
season?
figured
And he does.
Cooper Kupp has a ton.
Yeah. What does Cooper Kupp stats look like? But yeah, Matt Stafford, 4 touchdowns. Also, Derek Carr, the other one with 4 touchdowns. So those are your passing leaders. And once again, Mikey wins MHA trivia. Mikey, why are you so good?
Because Todd's so bad.
Ah, there's the answer. That's not nice.
Boo, boo, boo,
All right.
boo.
Every week. All right, let's get into the week 2 recap. Perhaps the matchup of the week in the Gonzo Cats versus the NWA. This one came down to the final drive of the Monday Night Vikings game. NWA was up 139-65 heading into Monday, leaving the Gonzo Cats to score 74 points. Among Jalen Hurts, Dalvin Cook, and Buffalo's defense, the Bills were able to destroy the Titans to the tune of 21 points, which is pretty incredible. But the story of the weekend has got to be the play of Jalen Hurts. 60 points, 50, which came in the first half alone on the game. 26 completions, 33 pass yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, and a passing touchdown. 1 passing touchdown, just incredible. Miles Sanders was able to rush for 80 yards and 3 receptions. To put up 11 points for the NWA. And I believe they gave him a lead at one point. Then Dalvin Cook caught a pass on the Vikings' final drive to give the win to the Gonzo Cats, who avoided falling to 0-2. But now at 0-2 is the NWA. So despite getting 62 points from Justin Herbert and 32 points from Tyreek Hill, he still did not come up with a win. That's got to be a little frustrating. Fantasy football, ladies and gentlemen. So much fun. In a battle of MHA podcast hosts, the Hot Tamales edged out the Butterfingers 119-108, while Mahomes looked a little more human this week with 45 points. Jalen Waddle was the chief benefactor. See what I did there, Chief? Patrick Mahomes, Waddle. Anyway, he tallied 31 points, 4th amongst all of our wide receivers. What's that? No good? Is that bad? I thought it was good. Aaron Jones single-handedly helped the Butterfingers keep it close, scoring 29 points on Sunday night. Had a couple of touchdowns, ran for 132 yards. That 29 points was second amongst all running backs, but 26 points against Russell Wilson. 26 points against a putrid Texans squad. Really did in the Butterfingers, who are now 1-1. Of course, when Mikey talked about it, he's 2-0. The defending champs in Notorious DUP are now 2-0 after facing off against the lowest scoring team in the MHA, yours truly. Along with Matt Stafford's 51 points, Michael Thomas made it 2 weeks in a row reaching double figures. Despite limited time, DeAndre Swift was pretty incredible. We'll talk about all my busts later on in the show. Leading the way in points scored was Kilgore Trout who rebounded in a big way to score 161 total points to put Bishop Sycamore at 0-2 on this young season. Kyler Murray had quite the second half, tallying 58 points. I read somewhere on Twitter that, I'm sure you guys saw the replays, or I was watching it live, but when Kyler Murray was scoring those points, someone on Twitter, because he was like running around trying, getting those 2-point conversions and scoring those late touchdowns, and it said he looked like a little kid that stole his mom's purse or something, and she couldn't find him because he's just so tiny and runs around. Anyway, he had 58 points. Amon-Ra St. Brown, so good, scoring 17 points last weekend, even hotter this week, 32. 9 catches, 68 yards, and 2 TDs. How about Christian Kirk, also scoring twice this week, reaching 21 points for Sycamore, 17 total points from Matt Ryan. Who on this podcast said Matt Ryan was bad? I think it was Mikey, right?
That would be me.
He hates Matt Ryan. And we saw it full force, 17 points. Yeesh. So poor Bishop Sycamore, talk about a quarterback situation. Dak's gone. Matt Ryan looks putrid. Whew. Also for Sycamore, Jonathan Taylor, just 6 points, 54 rush yards, and 1 reception. Yikes, Jonathan Taylor. You know who's good at football, guys? Josh Allen. Belt Sanders, number 1 pick, was yet incredible once again, 63 points. Was able to sneak out a 3-point win over Cooper's Cousins. Both teams now 1-1, despite Gabe Davis not playing and putting up a big fat goose egg on the Belt Sanders roster. Josh Allen was able to score all those points on Monday night to help Allen's squad. Cooper Kupp was, of course, magnificent once again. 25 points in week 1, 26 in week 2. But poor Cooper's Cousins didn't get much help from Isaiah McKenzie and Ramondre Stevenson. So not a good week for Cooper Cousins. Lamar Jackson scored 68 points for Eaton W's. 21 completions, 3 pass touchdowns, 38 pass yards. Rushed for 119 yards and added another touchdown on the ground, and Kevin's squad still lost. Stephon Diggs is what happened and went absolutely bananas on Monday night. 14 targets, 12 receptions, 148 yards, 3 touchdowns, unstoppable. And so that would for Mr. Line Rip, now 2-0 on the season, and Kevin 0-2. So those are your matchup this week. If you guys want to talk about your matchup, I'm fine if you want to go over it. Mikey coming out with the win. Mahomes, solid. But, man, Jalen Waddle, what happened? That's amazing. Tua on your bench. Not that anybody really expected you to start him over Patrick Mahomes, but pretty amazing stuff.
No, that game went totally bonkers. And what was amazing to me was just like, after the kind of pedestrian performance from Mahomes on Thursday, I was kind of like, man, I need like somebody to really knock it out of the park and have a big performance. And yeah, Waddle didn't disappoint. They kept targeting him over and over and over again. And man, did he come through, right, Todd?
Yeah, he sure did. He sure did. It was.
He sent us a text just now that has a little Jalen Waddle avatar dancing.
Yeah,
that's how good Jalen Waddle was this weekend.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, he sent plenty of.
I love that avatar. It's so awesome.
God. Yeah, Waddle was. Mikey, you were high on Waddle from the beginning and from last year on. So I gotta give you your props where they're due, and you stuck to your guns, and I got to give you props on that one, sir.
That's right. You can kneel before me.
Yeah, I
will
kneeling,
accept.
But I ain't kneeling. I'm going to give you your props, but I ain't kneeling. Sorry.
All right. Well, we went through the matchups. Now it's time to talk about dough of the week. There are quite a few candidates. Since we were talking about we were talking about the hot tamales and Butterfingers. Good old Todd Diamond raced out to pick up Robbie Anderson and put him in his starting lineup. Robbie Anderson had 16 fantasy points in week 1. Just 2 total points, which included a fumble. He played him instead of the guy that Todd, screamed to the fantasy football gods was the greatest rookie wide receiver of all time, and Garrett Wilson, and didn't play him. And Wilson had 25 points in an 11-point loss. So he would have made the difference if he would have played him.
Yes, I admit it. I missed the boat on that one, and I
I don't
Missed
know
the
if "missed
boat.
the boat" is the right
Missed the boat.
right
No.
word.
Let's say you fumbled the decision.
Oh,
Ouch. No, the fact of the matter is, because obviously with Joe Flacco being at the helm, I'm like, well, I'm gonna at least wait till Zach Wilson comes back, because again, it's still Joe Flacco, but Joe Flacco, this was like Joe Flacco of 2012. Like, what the hell? But yes, I missed the boat. I fumbled it. I hit a wall. I mean, everything in between, all the analogies you can think of. Yes, if I would have played Garrett Wilson, I probably would have won.
oh, you would have
Actually,
won.
no, I would have won. I would have won. But hey, it's decisions you make. And I thought at least I liked the matchup a little bit better. You know, the Panthers versus the Giants a little bit more than I did Jets matchup. So
But
again,
but
I
but
admit I was.
this is what I don't understand. Like,
Uh,
you loved Garrett Wilson so much. Where was Robbie Anderson in your rankings? He probably wasn't even ranked. Like, if you believe
Robbie Anderson went
in
undrafted in our league.
if you believe in a guy that much, then like matchup or not, like we're talking about. I mean, talent here.
I understand, but the Joe Flacco thing just kind of
Joe
at
Flacco,
least
Baker Mayfield. I don't know.
I'd rather
It's not like Tom. Well, you can't see Tom Brady anymore, but it's not like Patrick Mahomes. It's Baker Mayfield.
I understand, but at least again,
At least
you're trying to pick the worst out of the bunch, the best worst out of the bunch, and at least Baker, Baker's the best of the worst in that situation. But again, I was wrong.
Obviously not. We just said that Joe Flacco was one of the top passing quarterbacks in the league.
I know, but I didn't think he was gonna. I mean,
Obviously not.
Week one, he didn't really do anything, and
What are you talking about? How is that? I mean, he can't be on the list if he didn't do anything in both weeks.
Yeah, but Garrett Wilson didn't do a whole lot in week one, so I was kind of tempering my expectations a little bit to see, and again, Joe Flacco proved me wrong. He proved me wrong in putting up 4 touchdowns, and 2 of them went to Wilson. So I learned my lesson, and I'm probably most likely going to have to play.
I don't know about that, but we'll see as the season goes along. Other Doe of the Week candidates, you could talk about me if I would have played Jared Goff, who had 54 points over Tom Brady's 29. I would have won, but
it's not you. It's not you.
That's a tough one to gauge. There's a better one.
It is. It's Dylan, hands down.
It's Dylan. Before we get to Dylan, I also had Eaton W's. He could have played Drake London or Amari Cooper instead of Cordero Patterson, who only mustered up 4 points. But Dylan, why in the world would you play Isaiah McKenzie over your 3rd round pick, T. Higgins? Why? I don't get it. I understand that Gabe Davis wasn't going to play, but T. Higgins. Oh.
Like Garrett Wilson.
That might be the Doe of the year. That is a 3rd round pick. Like, for all the grief we just gave Todd, Dylan, I would smack you in the face if you were right here. Come on, dude. I understand that you want to be everybody wants to be a part of the Josh Allen party. And I understand that Cincinnati wasn't great in that first week. But T. Higgins is a bona fide top, 12 wide receiver. And Isaiah McKenzie is not even in the top 50.
But like Todd said, it's the matchup.
Unbelievable. That is a terrible move, Dylan. You deserve to lose. And I'm gonna send you a box of poop on Mackenzie's face.
Wow.
And you're gonna hold it up and smell it for an hour. Because that's how bad that move was. Awful. Doe of the week, Dylan. Okay, we'll move on. All right, guys, let's talk about some stars of the week.
The cream of the crop. Nobody does it better.
Definitely isn't Dylan. But who stood out to you, Miguel?
Well, the star of stars. There were a lot of stars, but
There was a lot.
But the one that's number one above all the rest is Stephon Diggs.
Wow.
At least for
What a
me.
performance.
Yeah, Aaron doesn't. I don't know what Aaron's confidence level was going into last night, but there's no way he thought he was going to get 37 points from Stephon Diggs.
No way. As good as he is and good as Josh Allen is, 37 single-handedly brought him all the way back.
Yeah,
Wide receiver.
incredible.
He had more points than Tom Brady. A lot of people had more points than Tom Brady, but a wide receiver had more points than Tom Brady. Oh, man. That is incredible stuff. 20 points in week 1, 37 points here in week 2. He was one pick away, and he would have been mine. And I'd be 2-0 right now. But whatever. I can't say that every week going forward, but just one of those things that was the snipe of the year for me. But yeah, Stephon Diggs, a stud. Todd, who stood out to you, star of the week?
Christian Kirk. We kind of were flabbergasted, in the offseason for how much money the Jags were giving this guy, and Christian Kirk's not a elite wide receiver, but they paid him like an elite wide receiver. Got 21 points in a shutout against the Colts, 2 touchdowns. Amazing right there. That's crazy. That's crazy for a wide receiver that maybe a lot of us didn't have ranked that high in our rankings over the summer, but yeah, he balled out. He balled out on Sunday. So I'll go with Christian Kirk.
Mikey, can you just tell Todd what the problem is with that pick?
So the problem with that pick is because my second overall star was on the same team as Christian Kirk, and that was Amon-Ra St. Brown for Kilgore Trout. Like, Kirk
Todd's
was good.
Todd's picking up Doe Awards on the show.
Kirk was good, but I mean, Amon-Ra St. Brown had 32 points.
32.
I understand.
Why is Kirk the better star than Amon-Ra St. Brown? Why?
I think
He's
just
not.
more of just
you can
more
say he was good and had a good day because it's Christian Kirk, but he's not the star. Right?
Yeah, I understand, but I'm Brown was probably the obvious one, but I wanted to go with maybe a secondary star, and I think just Christian Kirk, knowing how much they're paying him to put up 2 touchdowns, 21 points, that's that's pretty good.
Look, I understand what you're doing. So what you're saying is that you wouldn't give the MVP to the obvious choice in Aaron Judge. You would give it to Xander Bogaerts. Because even though Boston is not good, he's probably their best player right now. I get it.
We'll keep moving on here. More stars. One guy we talked about, man, Jalen Hurts looked amazing to have 50 points in one half and help that squad, help Gonzo Cats come all the way back. He had to come a long way back getting those 21 from Buffalo, but Jalen Hurts, the thing that we talked about him before the season was he's not a big completion guy, and he wasn't in the first game of the season at 18, but he had 26, and then be able to run for I think it was over 50 yards, but add a couple of rushing touchdowns as well. Philadelphia, I don't know, they only gave up 4 points to Minnesota. It was supposed to come in with this vaunted offense, pretty incredible. Mikey, do you have another star?
Well, Jalen Waddle was my other one.
Oh, okay.
Pick from my own team, but yeah, 31. I mean, just an incredible day.
Todd, anybody else you want to talk about?
Well, I'll just go with one of my guys just to kind of
you
pat
lost
on the back just for one. I know I lost, but just because he almost maybe got me to there, but the fact, just to toot my own horn a little bit, just because I'm always right. But give the ball to Aaron Jones, and good things happen. So there we go. There's my Aaron Jones one for the evening.
Let's move on. Busts of the week.
What, do you smell something?
Do I smell something? What am I, hard of smelling? Of course I smell something.
Mikey, what do you got? There's a lot of them,
got,
by the way.
Yeah, I
My
have
list
my
is
full.
long.
Well, yeah, I narrowed mine down to what I thought were the major 4.
Okay.
So, number 1 on my list was Tom Brady, and only because it's the second week in a row, and 29 points, only 18 completions. He didn't even get 200 yards. I don't know, like even in most of his bad games, like that's what surprised me the most, like him not crossing 200 yards. That was kind of crazy.
I thought he had a touchdown to Mike Evans. Maybe he got called back. You get those updates on your phone. I'm working. I didn't get to watch the game, but like, what happened to his other touchdowns? I must have got called back. But here's some players that have more fantasy points. Here are quarterbacks that have more fantasy points than Tom Brady. Baker Mayfield, Mac Jones, Matt Ryan, Mitchell Trubisky, Davis Mills, Jacoby Brissett, Geno Smith, Marcus Mariota, and all of our favorite, Daniel Jones. All of those guys have more fantasy points than Tom Brady. I'm laughing, but I'm crying at the same time. It's terrible. Todd, give me a bust.
Derrick Henry, only 8 points. Ouch. I understand Buffalo's defense pretty much shut him down, but only getting 8 points from your first round pick. I mean, yeah, that's pretty bad. But Buffalo's defense was on point, but still, at least you want to at least get double digits from your first round picks.
Yeah, he hasn't been good. I mentioned just over 3 yards per carry. He fell into the end zone against Buffalo, kind of salvage his day. But if he didn't score that touchdown, it would have been 13 for 25 yards, 13 carries for 25 yards. Is it panic mode for him, Miguel? Do we need to worry about Derrick Henry? Should people try to go out and trade for him, or should they stay as far away as possible? I don't know how much you've seen of him, but I'd be interested to know your take.
The problem, I think, is more that Tennessee's defense has been so terrible. It's putting them in holes. And it's the one thing like that Tennessee can't do. If they get behind, they can't throw. And Derrick Henry's not on the field when they throw. So, yeah, I mean, his value just goes to the crapper if they're down in games. So unless they can keep games close, then he's going to do what you saw. Like, that's the bad part about Derrick Henry.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think I'm super concerned quite yet, but that's something to keep an eye on. First round pick could be tough. I hate to go back to my team for bust of the week, but that's how it is right now. Good old Rashad Penny, 1 stinking point. Yes, they were at San Francisco, but he also kind of split time with Kenny Walker. And so that hurts his value going forward. And I'm sure maybe they were just trying to mix it up. And 12 carries in week 1 and did all right against the Denver squad. He's usually pretty stout, so I'm not like ready to drop him or anything, but just 6 carries and 15 yards. And, I don't know if it was a tight contest, but it really wasn't a blowout either. What do you think, Miguel?
Well, you can't be mad at the guy for living up to his namesake.
Oh, well. Mikey's got jokes today. I love it. But I hope things turn around, but I don't know if I can start them next week. I'm trying to see who they play next week. They play Atlanta. So sixth fewest fantasy points running back so far. So I don't know if that's something to be concerned about, but definitely something to be concerned about. Mikey, who else you got?
Well, my other guy was Jonathan Taylor. I mean, 6 points. He only had 54 yards rushing and only 1 catch. I mean, Yeah, I mean, he's even a higher pick than Henry, and he was worse.
Yeah, it's interesting because for Bishop Sycamore is 0-2. Considering how good Nick Chubb has been, 15 points. He obviously had 3 touchdowns yesterday, or this weekend, I should say, and still 0-2. But yeah, Jonathan Taylor, it was incredible in week 1. Just I don't know if Jacksonville's vaunted defense, or obviously they got behind early, and I don't know if Indianapolis with Matt Ryan and no Michael Pittman. I don't know. That's a little scary if you're banking on Matt Ryan to be able to move the offense. And you're seeing the stats that Carson Wentz. I wonder if Carson Wentz is playing with a chip on his shoulder. Todd, did you have another bust?
I wanted to go with Russell Wilson, but I think they'll still figure it out because obviously he had a good week 1. But I'm going to go with TJ Hawkinson. I understand Amon St. Brown is the guy, but the Lions put up 36 points. Come on, you telling me they can get 1 touchdown to Hawkinson? Just 1? Come on, just 1.
This guy's on your team, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but
So
I've got
just-
a problem with that one too. I mean,
Why? Come on.
if you were picking somebody from your team, you're not picking Russell Wilson.
Well, the only reason I'm not picking Russell Wilson is because it's not that Russell Wilson's having trouble trying to. The problem is, I mean, the time management and trying to figure out plays. That's more. But that's the different. That's not for this podcast.
I don't care what it is. 26 points is 26 points.
He looked bad too. I only saw the second half, but he looked bad.
Because the fact of the matter is that it was either delay of games, or they couldn't get the play in quick enough, or whatever the case was. Yes, Russell Wilson did not look like Russell Wilson of week 1. Now you can take this for whatever it's worth, but the fact of the matter is none of the starters played in the preseason. So if you want to just kind of think outside the box and go down the rabbit hole a little bit and explore a little bit more, the fact of the matter is, maybe you count these first few games, maybe even hopefully not in week 3, that they haven't played in week. I mean, because even Aaron Rodgers looked bad in week 1, and they didn't. Then Aaron Rodgers didn't play in the preseason. So you got to.
Well, wait a second. Cooper Kupp didn't play in the preseason, and he has 51 points so far. So all I'm saying.
It's different. I think it's different. I think it's different with wide receivers versus quarterbacks. Quarterbacks, you at least, I'd say, but 1 drive wouldn't have killed them in the preseason. Just to have the first team offense, just 1 drive with Russell Wilson, all the wide receivers, regardless of if they would have thrown a touchdown pass or not. Just one. One would have. I mean, for God's sakes, they had Tom Brady. They had Tom Brady in the preseason for just 1 drive. I mean, and granted, 45 years old. I mean, he's probably earned that right not to play in the preseason, but just knowing a new team, it wouldn't have. I mean, I remember. I mean, when Peyton Manning got here, come on, just one wouldn't have killed him. 1 drive, regardless, even if they just ended up with a field goal, but just a good drive down the field, just to get some good, get everybody kind of in sync. Just 1. That's all I'm asking.
All right.
Just 1.
All right. So say I accept that argument, which I don't. But say I do.
Okay.
You had that information at the draft, right?
I did, but it was just more of the fact of where I drafted Russell Wilson and where I thought, maybe knowing he's been in the league a long time, maybe the rust wouldn't have, affected him. But, again, there's other factors too. I mean, we all heard it, or whether
it's okay. It's not Broncos. It's not Broncos podcast.
I know, but
we could call him Russell Wilson if you want.
Ooh, well done, sir. That is good stuff. DK Metcalf has been pretty bad first 2 weeks. He's had some tough opponents, but he's obviously dealing with a new quarterback and a new situation over there in Seattle. I don't think any of us are super surprised, but to be able to just have 11 points in 2 weeks, 11 receptions, not good. Not good for Mr. DK Metcalf. Anything else you guys want to mention about busts? Matt Ryan
Juju.
stinks.
Juju.
Yeah, Juju
been
didn't do much.
Yeah. And again, in an offense where you're thinking, okay, the volume, it's going to spread the ball around a lot, but yeah, he's definitely been quiet. So
Well, I mean, Kyle Pitts is the other obvious one, but he came on a winning team, so that's why I didn't list him.
Yeah, for sure. All right. I didn't see a lot of surprises. I mean, obviously Tua, I guess, could be the surprise of the week with his 86 points, 36 completions, 6 passing touchdowns, 469 yards. Is this something we should expect to see going forward? He had 1 touchdown in week 1. What are our thoughts about Tua going forward, Miguel? He's on your bench. Are you looking to trade him? You looking to hold on to him? Is this an anomaly week? What do you think about? I mean, you've always kind of been a Tua guy, so maybe you feel good about it.
I don't think it's an anomaly. Like when you've got those type of weapons, like it never added up to me. Like we draft Tyreek Hill high, Waddle got drafted high. Like if that's the case, then Tua's the one throwing the ball. He's going to be good. He's proven that so far. I think it's going to be interesting this week. They play Buffalo in what should hopefully be a shootout.
So, I don't know. Buffalo's D has looked pretty good so far.
They have. But, I mean, that Waddle and Tyreek Hill's speed is something else. I don't know.
But, I mean, that Buffalo defense shut down. I guess it was the Eagles defense. But, I mean, Justin Jefferson, that to me just shows you how good defenses can be. So, it's whatever it's worth.
What was that?
Sounded like somebody was choking a lamb.
What is Todd sacrificing a lamb? Try to get his fantasy team back on the winning track. Is that what's going on right now?
Hey, you gotta think outside the box these days.
I guess so. Yikes!
Flipping a coin.
Who knows? That could have been CD after his first couple of weeks of performances.
Who's that?
CD Lamb.
Oh, CD Lamb. Oh, Mike is on it this evening. He's bringing the energy. Anything else that stood out? Anything at all about this past week outside of Broncos talk? Any other performances that stand out, bad or good?
Yeah, I was just saying. I think that fantasy football is interesting. NWA is 1 point from being the highest scoring team in the league, yet he's 0-2, and I feel bad for him, but I also kind of don't.
Preach. No, for sure. That's got to be tough. And he's got to take on Aaron next week, which is not going to be an easy feat. He's 2-0. And I'll go through that real quick here. What's happening in week 3 in the quite pivotal matchup, as we talked about, 2-0 Lion Rip will take on 0-2 NWA. Notorious CUP, the defending champs, look to go 3-0 against 1-1 Gonzo Cats. 1-1 Kilgore Trout will go toe-to-toe with 1-1 Cooper's Cousins. Bishop Sycamore hopes to avoid that 0-3 start, taking on 1-1 Butterfingers. The Hot Tamales can go 3-0 with the win over the Belt Sanders, who are 1-1. Watch out for that Josh Allen, although I think he's got a tough matchup this week. And the 1-1 Lemonheads are hoping to give Eaton W's a loss, which would be their 3rd in 3 games. So the schedule that lays out this week. But, yeah, it sucks for NWA to – man, all the 305 points and 0-2. Unreal. Well, actually, no, that's points again. Excuse me. He had 279, which is still up there. This Lion Rip's 280. Fantasy football. I'm thrilled to be 1-1. Just thrilled. It could be a lot worse. I could be in panic mode trying to trade for things, trying to trade for players, but I'm not ready to do that quite yet. We'll see how my quarterback situation ends up this week. Jared Goff or Thomas Brady?
That's in previous years you never would have have to decide between Tom Brady or Jared
Screw
Goff,
you, Tom Brady.
Yeah, there you go. Screw Tom Brady. But yeah, it's 2022, y'all. I mean, all great things sometimes have to sometimes come to an end. But hopefully Tom Brady can get back on track next week. Maybe that fight, woke up the Bucks, and they'll come out fighting. You never know. Sometimes that stuff can,
We'll see the problem with all that. Isn't the Bucks 2-0?
Yeah. But but not a
like they're failing in that regard of passing and being a prolific offense that it used to be, but they're still 2-0 because their defense is so good.
Yeah,
so the emphasis is not going to be on like, well, we need to score 40 points. Let's just make sure we don't give up more than we score.
Yeah, but I mean, it just proves that the fantasy football gods, or however gods you want to talk about, are Tom Brady fans. So that's what it comes down to. You can't give them a Super Bowl every single year, but they're just like, well, yeah. I mean, offense might be a little stale, but we'll make sure the defense is on point, and defense has been on point. So go figure.
Mikey, any last words?
Oh, last words. Todd, I want you to take some time and make the right decisions in your lineup this week.
And I still have to see what with Keenan Allen with his situation is. So I have options. I'll tell you what option I'm not going with. Damn sure, and I already put him on the waiver wire when I put in a bid. Is Robbie Anderson go F himself in the face? Jackass, 3 points. Golly.
2.
No, it's 2. Well, 2, 3 doesn't matter. It's still bad. It's bad. It smells bad. Okay. I was like, yeah, you know what? You're right. No, you know what? No, Eric, it wasn't 2. It was like -1. He should have stayed with that -1. Jackass. Can't hold on to the freaking ball. You're a wide receiver.
He's Robbie Anderson. Don't be surprised if Robbie Anderson plays like Robbie Anderson. Dylan, get your shit together. If you hate T. Higgins, send him my way. I'll send you something good over there. Come on, man. All right, gentlemen. Well, that'll do it for this MHA podcast. What a week 2 it was. Excited for week 3 to get underway. So, for Mikey Renault, Todd Diamond, I'm, of course, Eric Lansing. That's Tom Brady on his team. We'll see you next time on the MHA podcast.